What up? It's your boy Jones N Mann, and tonight we're jonesing on Chicken Cock Rye. Alright, so you've already seen the bourbon. If you haven't seen the bourbon, go back and check that video out. Which made me have to pick up the rye. So this is the Kentucky Straight Rye. I think the rye's a little more expensive. The rye's coming in over the $70 mark, which honestly, if you look at every line, rye is a little bit more expensive than your typical bourbon. I think it's the more expensive grain. And if I'm not mistaken, this is probably 95% rye, 5% barley. It does come in at 90 proof. It does have that same really cool bottle. And just like we talked about before, for me, the Chicken Cock brand was one where I was kind of overlooking, honestly, because I didn't know the history. And I thought it was like a gimmick name kind of deal. But the more I dug into it and found out that, you know, they go all the way back to 1850. And I've heard that maybe even further back than that, that they also had rich history in like the Cotton Club. This was like the house. I don't know if it was the rye or the bourbon. I assume it's the bourbon. But the house whiskey at that point was Chicken Cock. And, you know, when you think back in the day, house whiskey was a little bit different than today. If we go into a bar today and I say house whiskey, that's going to be at least expensive. Whereas usually in the past, that house whiskey was the one that was the most esteemed. This is what you should be drinking kind of deal. So a little bit of change has happened since then, but we're going to pop this baby. And I ain't going to talk y'all to death all day. We're going to pour her up a little bit. At 90 proof, I'm not going to pour it on the ice yet because I want to get the biggest, boldest taste out of it that I possibly can. It's got good legs on it. All right, now, on the nose, slight fruitiness, little apple. Kind of reminds me of rye. A little breadiness kind of. But it has a little heat in there. And I said the same thing on the bourbon. I was surprised at the heat I was able to get at 90 proof. But had a little something on there on the end. I can't place it. But let's taste it and see what I think. Woo! Woo! I gotta go back in there again. This is my very first drink of the day. Very first sip. And boy, she's coming in strong. Like I would not, with that initial heat, that initial rush, it's not ethanol, but there's a warm Kentucky hook there. Let me come back again. See, that's why you always got to go back into that second sip. Wow, it's got a nice. The nose was a little on the simple side in comparison to the taste. It is for me rye heavy, but there's a nice note of freaking fruit underneath there. I want to say apple because I smell apple, but it feels richer than that. Yeah, that's not a bad pour right there. That is not a bad pour. I think that when I think about my rye spectrum, I've got my light ryes like Sazerac, and then I've got my heavy rye. What would be a good heavy rye? Like rye heavy. First thing that comes to mind is that Whistle Pig Piggyback 6-year super duper rye heavy. This falls somewhere in the middle, a little bit more to the heavier rye side, even though it's not bold rye, if that makes sense. There's a lot of, like, when you taste this, I don't think there's any real doubt of whether it's a rye. Like, when you smell it, you smell that bready, just like rye bread, kind of. Let's put it on the rocks. Put it on the rocks. I almost feel like, because I haven't had anything to drink today, that maybe this feels elevated to me. Because it's like, this is my first cocktail of the day. And did I drink yesterday? I don't even know if I had cocktails yesterday or not. Let's give it a little swirl. Nose dissipates. This big glass, you're not going to smell a whole lot. Yeah. You get a little bit more spiciness in there. But yeah. I'm gonna tell you real talk. I rate this a 3. Good middle of the road. I would definitely say, one, you want to be a rye lover coming into this. It's not an overly aggressive rye, so it's good for someone who is on the lower end or just kind of dabbling in rye. But I think that there's enough rye boldness in this that even if you're a heavier side rye guy, it's good. I feel like it's a solid pour. Like, I like to use ryes in my old fashions. Yeah, and I'm like, ooh, right then I got like a real creamy note to it. The more I sip this, the more I kind of sway on that. But I'm gonna give it a strong 3. Wow, I like it on the rocks. I definitely better than on the neat pour. But I would definitely say it's a pickup. Boom. Follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and the TikTokies. Chicken Cock has done it again, man. I gotta try some other stuff from their lineup, some of their limited edition stuff, because I found it to be quite enjoyable. Where I might have thought originally, Chicken Cock is no joke. See you next time. Clink 'em and drink 'em.